meeting of the City Flagstaff Pedestrian Advisory Committee to order. We'll start with a roll call. Committee members, Matt McGrath, I am here. Sean?
Am here.
Melanie?
I am here.
John? No John. Jody? No Jody. Ron?
I am here, and I apologize for not being there in person, but I was washing my bikes and my neighbor came over and chatted me up, so I ran out of time.
That's
But I
okay.
should get
I'm
partial credit for washing my bikes, I would
not-
suspect.
That's great. And I'm not jealous because you're not in your van somewhere awesome. So I'd
No,
rather
we
you
just
be
got
calling
back.
it. Yeah.
We got back and the bikes were dirty, so it's a
I don't want to hear about it, Ron.
a first world problem, but yeah, I am here.
Thanks, Ron. Jay.
Yeah. Present.
Jay, how you doing? City staff, Martin and Chris are here. Councilmember Spence, thanks for joining us. And then for our visitors, want to do a quick introduction? Just so-
Yeah, I'm Lorena Reyes. I'm the Associate Transportation Planner at Mountain Line.
Thanks for coming back.
Yeah.
Dave Nixon, I'm with Capital Improvements, Project Manager.
Dave, glad to have you both here with us. Preliminary general business announcements. Any members of the PAC have an announcement to share?
Mr. Chair, just for reference, Jody just joined us.
Oh, great. Hi, Jody.
I have an announcement.
Yep, no PAC member announcements, staff member announcements. None?
City council.
Yep, then we're getting the councilman.
Okay. I love the new safe streets, Butler, John Wesley Powell, the preliminary designs all show this kind of a structure where on each side of the road, there's an 11-foot wide cement pathway, 8 inches above the place where the cars drive. So it's separated. And in all of the designs I've seen, the bikes are closest to the car traffic and pedestrians are away from the traffic. So on this side, the bike is closest to the car traffic, pedestrians are off to here. I'm suggesting we harmonize with our existing paths primarily along Route 66, the 10-foot wide cement, beautiful path for both bikes and pedestrians. I'm suggesting that we follow this pattern with pedestrians being away from the traffic and bikes closest to the traffic. And of course, Route 66 path is only on one side of the road. The other side is just an ordinary sidewalk. So I love this concept, and I think I'm just here to advocate for making this pattern on our existing paths. And another example is the path under the railroad at Milton. It's narrow, but it's both bikes that come down from Santa Fe and pedestrians that are going under. And then parts of Fort Valley Road, I think, would benefit from this designation. So that's all I have to say.
Great, thanks, sir. Moving on to public comment. Martin, anybody reach out to you?
Nothing to say.
All right. We have approval of minutes on here. A couple came out a little while ago. I did not have a chance to even open them and pretend like I read them closely before putting up for vote. So I'm going to propose that we just shift those to next month and approve them all then. Which would take us on to new business, the Oakmont Country Club Roundabout.
All right.
Sweet.
Councilmember Spence, you get to enjoy this presentation a second.
I'm getting used to it.
We did it last week for the
Yep.
BAC. So while Martin's queuing that up, essentially we've completed a 15% feasibility study for the intersection at Country Club and Oakmont. That's across from the driving range and golf course. And just wanted to share a little bit about the project and where we think it's at right now. So. Good.
Yeah.
Thanks. So the biggest concerns here are line of sight. We've got a grade change that's pretty significant that creates a blind spot, not to mention both of the east and west Oakmont, and it's just kind of a funky intersection, the way it's been cobbled together through the years, and it created a few more accidents than we think is necessary. We also want to look at upgrading it with regards to Foots Trail and connectivity in that area that's lacking right now. So that would be the relevance for this meeting. Project started way before my time here at the city, sometime in 2000. And again, the issues are site alignment, horizontal and vertical site issues. Currently, it's two-way stop control. Country Club is free running north and south. And then also wanted to just touch on section 20 now and in the future. Thank you, Chris. So alternatives that we had WSP, our design firm, look at were the keeping everything flowing like it is, except improving line of sight through cuts and repaving and whatnot. We had to look at a mini roundabout, and then also to see if four-way stop control would be warranted. And part of the whole picture of this where Chris Fair fits in is he was able to put his magic into the 2045 regional plan and see what some of the modelings look like. So at the end of the day, the direction that we liked was the roundabout. And I think the next slide has a drawing of that. And again, this is just conceptual at this time, but gives you kind of a feel. And we have in town, we've got one, what I guess is classified as a mini roundabout. And that is on Arrowhead and West. And that's about a 70-foot diameter for the roundabout itself. And then for comparison, just to get a feel for the scale, over at Jim and Chris, you have these on Google Earth.
Yeah, we can cruise around.
Yeah, maybe we pull these up as we discuss.
Sure.
This.
Yeah,
Thank you.
happy to.
And are you at?
Okay. Which one do you want to look at first?
Arrowhead is fine.
Sure.
West, if that's it.
Yep.
So this is our, the one true mini roundabout in town. And so just wanted to kind of show this as what the size and the scale of the mini would be. And then Gemini and Pine Cliff is a step up from the mini, and it's 130 feet across.
That's this one here.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. That's probably a little closer with having the four-way intersection as opposed to the smaller Arrowhead and West. Oh yeah, thank you. Gosh, just a few months ago, right? Or a month ago, maybe it snowed.
That's not right there.
So it's a little bit of context. And then the other roundabout that is not a standard size is Beulah and JWP that they just finished at the edge of town. And so those would be three good comparisons anyway.
These ones here?
Yeah, it's the one that Jeff had pointed out was specific. I think they're both the same, but is that one?
Why did they change that? Just for semi-traffic or
For the roundabout or for the bridge?
the roundabout? Did they change the size for?
You know, that is a great question, and I'm not, although I've mean, there didn't used to be a roundabout there, and then they did I mean, I think the roundabout is only the single. I think that is a new construction. I don't think there was a roundabout before. I live in Kachina, so I should know. I've been driving by there for 25 years. Pardon?
Or was it right prior to this, right? This is to Fort Tutty?
Yeah, that's, yep, exactly. Can you see on history on
So which one are we, this is the one that's in question, right?
the far left?
It is like.
This one.
Did they add a second one?
Yes, this one.
Okay.
I don't, I might be just, I don't drive Beulah enough. No, it's been a roundabout forever, because you go towards Sedona and then around unless I'm.
Yeah. I think that's new with, I mean, new being maybe 10 years old.
Oh, okay, that's scale.
2016.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
I
yeah.
came here in 2015, so it feels like my entire existence in Flagstaff.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, totally. Like, no, it's always been there. So, yeah, that used to just be a stop sign, back in the day, so. So hopefully I didn't, maybe I answered your question or maybe I didn't, but, so that roundabout is about 10 years old, yeah.
Let's do the screen again, back to the presentation.
How you're feeling roundabout, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah, that's another good example though.
Yeah.
What in my mind, what I was envisioning when they did the bridge, they worked on that right one. Yeah, they like cut through it and made a pass for semis and stuff. And that's what I envisioned was a change to that, but never mind.
Yeah, no, that whole area is definitely realigned.
Just for comparison, what about the one on Schweitzer? How big is that one comparative?
I would have to get my tools out and take a look to give you a
'Cause that's
definitive.
got it's got 4 directions. Three, but then now you've got that new neighborhood that's
Yeah.
feeding into it.
Weird.
Yeah, now that one was redone because I know they did the original roundabout and it wasn't scaled big enough and then really dating myself here, so.
They had to create a whole second lane for turquoise.
That works out, actually, that seems like it works pretty good. as a
Does, I
sales
love
route,
it.
yeah.
I use that all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Also a pedestrian.
Yeah, it does suck for pedestrians.
It's like Sedona, we need the Sedona ones for scale too.
So is that bigger or is that about the size of what?
You know, I hate to hazard, I'd just be guessing without getting a scale out and looking at it.
I don't believe that the Country Club Oakmont configuration has any of these separate, like.
The
right
median
turn
and the
lanes.
landing.
Well, just this is almost like a 2-lane in one part. And I don't, are there any of the approaches that are similar in design?
What we have is just now is our 15% concept, so that's just, we know what'll fit in that space and it can definitely change from here, so.
Is it very similar sidewalk patterns to all?
Well, that's a great question, and that's what we want to, that's why we're here. This committee and last week is to talk about, foots connectivity, putting ADA, crosswalks, and just making that a much better intersection. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know if that can be blown up at all, but yeah, and again, this is just in its infancy, but you can see that we do have some medians in the middle. The crosswalks and so on and so forth, so. I think this would, definitely, there is a lot of truck traffic through there, so it will need to be sized so that commercial traffic isn't neck down too bad as a consideration, so.
That's one little worry there when you turn on to Oakmont. It looks like it sort of squishes down. It looks like it almost bottlenecks a little bit there.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just a illusion.
Yeah, it is a weird, when you look at the easement maps, they're just all kind of, looks like they've been cobbled together through the years, so. There's definitely some stuff to vet out and it is a blind spot, and I know a lot of school buses go down there too, so.
All right, Chris, can you refresh my memory on the plan for that giant gap in the sidewalk? Coming along the golf course?
Out along the driving range.
Yeah.
Between the existing Country Club Puts Trail and,
Yeah.
Oh, that's coming up.
Okay, that's part of this.
It's just on the next slide.
Okay,
so the
great.
visual to talk about, yeah. Tie it all in. Yes.
Where is the center island an actual island unlike the first one we saw? Like you can't just drive over it?
So we just don't know at this point whether it's mounded, whether it has some riprap in it, like the one at JWP they put in, or whether could be, who knows, could be a beautification function in the middle. We're just too early to know.
And can be said about all the fives. You don't know if those are just gonna be painted lines or actually raised cement
Yeah, this is just
islands.
like very feasibility, very low level. Yeah. Yep. In that sense.
What is a stop bar?
A stop bar is just so when you see your stop sign, you're supposed to stop, I think, with your bumper at the stop bar. Is that right, Chris?
Yeah, but yeah, I believe that's right. It's the white stripe, the white, rectangle that matches the stop sign essentially.
Okay, and then, good questions, Chris, if you want to go to the, or Martin, please, on that final slide, just shows kind of where our Foots Trail is currently and what's proposed. So the gap. Matt, the gap that you were just, yeah, you could see that is right about, and I'll let Chris or Martin speak to, they are much more, have much more history in the Foots and how it got to where it's at, but I believe the southern line is just right about at the gym. Is that at the country club?
Near FAC.
FAC, yeah, FAC.
Yeah, it's kind of tough to tell on this graphic, but the green line is existing Foots. And it kind of gets blurred by text over it. And then the blue, light blue line, that's proposed or planned Foots Trail.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so the idea would be to extend the country club Foots Trail from its current southern end to the south through this intersection.
Yeah, and then there's still some at Bear Paw and in the southern leg, it's so crazy there. There's still not a clear path forward, but I think this northern connectivity from the intersection can easily be tied in.
They're saying would be part of this project, or would that be separate?
So the construction limits will be kind of what we see on the plans, but we would at least be stubbing out and depending on
Creating connection points.
Yeah,
setting
yeah,
up for
exactly.
future connections.
Yeah. All right. And so that is Country Club Oakmont, and we are working with WSP just to get design focused on the mini roundabout and getting it moving forward. And construction it's been pushed back another year, so it won't be till 27 till we're getting equipment on the ground. So, yep. So unfortunately not coming right up, but.
What's the schedule for going from 15% to X%?
Great question. So they'll need to be probably in a design for a year. And right now we have WSP's kind of their abstract proposal. And so we're running it through the various city channels for comment. And so it'll be about this time next year, we'd hopefully be, have 100% CDs. Yeah. All right. Is there one more, or is that it for this one?
Yeah.
Oh, section 20. So, section 20 is the beige area in the bottom right corner that has the kind of the offshoot. We got to come up with a name for that. I know people are very clever with good names, so maybe it probably has a name that I'm not aware of, but maybe the heel or the high heel or something. But that area is Butler. And Chris, again, I could put you on the spot if you don't mind.
I'm happy to talk about it. So that was just a consideration for this project. So you can see the black dashed line. That is the city of Flagstaff urban development boundary. And the beige area that's inside of it, the 2045 regional plan has that area zoned as future residential. So it's poised for development. Right now it's state land. I don't know what the status of it is as state land. I think, Martin, did we hear something about it going to auction in the near term?
Yeah, that's a rumor.
Yeah. So it could be an area that gets developed towards, being a future residential area.
Of course, that could impact the intersection that we're talking about, once that whole area is built out, it's gonna bring it could potentially bring a lot more traffic there. One of my responsibilities with the city is to run the transportation demand model. And ultimately, we can simulate network changes, roadway alignments, configurations, and changes and shifts in land use around the city, and kind of take a look at what the future of these intersections could be as the city develops. So ultimately, we simulated some basically section 20 being built out as residential, and then looked at the capacity of the intersection that were Country Club and Oakmont. And the big takeaway was that the mini roundabout configuration was going to handle that increase in traffic better than other intersection designs like what's existing or anything else that may have been proposed.
Where is the mini roundabout on that map?
It's right there. Yeah, Country Club, this is Old Walnut, I believe, and this is Oakmont here. And what's interesting about like the future of this development is that this is Butler Avenue. And as this develops, the regional plan also calls for Butler Avenue to be extended. So a lot of the trips are actually going to go this way on Butler Avenue, and not necessarily all of them are pressuring Country Club.
Also only on weekends because they're all gonna be Airbnbs, so.
Hopefully not. Was that modeling what ruled out the four-way stop?
Yeah, correct. Actually, we pulled the modeling in and it didn't seem like it would be warranted even at that level. Yeah.
The radius you said is 70 on this?
Oh, on the mini roundabout that we have drawn right now?
Yeah.
Yes,
CR 70.
It's 68 or yes.
Just go to a map for me, Google Maps on the screen. And type in Osborne and Miller Road. You wanna do this? I see it.
Take over? There you go.
Yeah, I think diameter is, yeah. Not big.
So this one's 111 feet across. So it's smaller, but it was designed extremely well. It's down in Scottsdale. As you guys know, I wasn't here for 4 months. I'd be biking down there all the time. Biking and driving this because Sprouts and the grocery store is up.
Where was it you wanted to look? Sorry.
60, it's Osborne and Miller. It's right next to the stadium. Thought it was like the best designed roundabout just because the sides all had buttons and the island had buttons. And so even if it was like you're old or got in an accident or injured or something, got to that island and it was just a rush of traffic, you could still push the button. And so that would be my only request is that it has, if it's a used intersection and you want future expansion, make it as safe as possible. And that would, I mean, in the scheme of development, I would feel like buttons and flashers are cheap.
Yeah, we do have an electrical piece in the future design for lighting, and so that would fall in.
If you type in Ann Miller, East Osborne and Miller.
What you said there was next to a stadium?
Oh, just go east. I know where we are. East, you see a roundabout right by those baseball fields.
Oh, right here.
Yeah, this is actually smaller. You've got 2 lanes coming in, 1 lane coming in on top that expands to 2, and then one with bike lanes everywhere. And then all those are button crossings with buttons in the islands as well. It's kind of like what I wish Sedona would have because those are so scary as a pedestrian. Yeah. But I thought interacting with this as a driver, as a cyclist, and as a pedestrian, because we walked this, was great. As safe as it could be in my mind. Visibility, buttons, lights.
The flashing lights, amber or red?
They were the bright yellow. So the amber is just like a.
I like the one they have at NAU on Milton.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are real quick.
So you said there's electrical in the design. Is that getting at the beacons that Jay's talking about?
Well, again, at this level, we're not there. We did have them capture, electrical for dark sky lighting or as a potential, and which I'm just saying would also lend itself to.
Yeah, I mean, could that be in the notes though? Just like why wouldn't if it can be safer, why not put maximum effort into that, I guess? Like if we're gonna build it, if it's going to be built. Yeah, it should be the safest thing for cyclists and pedestrians. It's new. We're 2026, 2027. Flagstaff says they love pedestrians and biking and hiking. That should be visual.
Really good feedback. I appreciate it.
Ron, Melanie, just shout things out if you got anything. But I won't put you on the spot that you have to say anything. Any other comments from folks in the room? Non-committee members certainly allowed to comment if you like. Feel free.
I was thinking about the Sedona roundabouts because I had to use them at night just last weekend and it was pretty sketchy. Yeah, I had really good lights on my bike and so I was able to trust in those, but yeah, this is a great example.
Yeah, it's interesting that they haven't changed that. All these places that claim to be pedestrian hiking.
So excuse me, what is the shortcoming that you guys are pointing out in Sedona? It's just there's not beacons or there's no median.
It's just kind of like run out when you can, you know, and it's the constant, it's traffic constantly.
Bikes and
because there's no
pedestrian
other
were
way.
not really factored in when
Yeah.
they built those.
No, it was like a traffic slowing, it seems like
Yeah.
more than anything else. Yeah.
Okay.
You need to make eye contact and. like,
Even making eye contact doesn't always guarantee that it's
Sure.
okay.
Yeah, people are rush through there, they're like, oh man, I'm just sad.
I think, just to add to that conversation, I think that a couple of new roundabouts that the city has under consideration. A bigger one at Butler and Fourth, and the one that just started construction at, Cedar Locket and Fourth. Will both have, push button and, either amber flashing or red flashing lights. There's a difference, of course. Amber flashing is just like a visual beacon to remind people that indicate to people that there are pedestrians crossing, need to yield to pedestrians. A flashing red light, of course, means you have to come to a stop. So they're kind of two different things. I think in both cases, they're required as part of ProWag. And if, I'm gonna ask Jeff to jump in a moment if I get this wrong or if he wants to add something to it, but requirement for those things, and I'm guessing it's the same in the Scottsdale one, is a requirement of the new public rights of way accessibility guidelines to provide better access and accessibility through roundabouts. I don't know if there's a limit, like if there's a size limit on when they are applicable, or if that's just a new requirement. I think the third option, two of the options are those flashing beacons, red or amber, and the third one is raised crosswalks in the intersection.
Beacons would be better than raised. Just a hey, stop. Cause think of you being on think if you were in a wheelchair or an accessible bike, like ADA, like you're low to the ground. You are sitting back here on your recumbent. Pretty much you have to suicide to for a car to see you, essentially. Whether it's raised or not. But both would be better.
I am here and happy to jump in, Martin, Chair, if that's okay. This is Jeff.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so I'm not sure ProAg has changed, but what we had been looking at is when you have a multi-lane approach or exit, that's when the flashing beacons are recommended practice. So yeah, this example at Osborne, you can see some are multi-lane and some are single lane. What we've done with mixed is we've just put the beacons at all of them when we have multi-lane and single lane. Typically with single lane, you're not putting beacons in, but yeah, as David mentioned, this is so early, we haven't even gotten to that point yet. So we'll have to take a look. One of the things with these mini roundabouts is they fit in such a small space that a lot of things need to be traversable. So trucks need to be able to run over the middle island a little bit, potentially even the splitter islands to get through. That's how you keep the size so small, as you make a lot of things traversable. And traversable things don't work terribly well with push buttons and pulls. So we'll just have to work out the balance as we go through that. But I believe ProAg is multi-lane approaches and exits is when the beacons are recommended.
Thanks for that clarification.
Sure.
Any other comments or discussion about this one? We'll be looking forward to seeing it on the agenda again soon-ish.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Thanks for the
coming.
feedback, guys. Yeah.
Yeah, really appreciate your time. All right, moving on to old business. Mode share.
Yeah, there's nothing in there. So I don't have anything really to share. We've been spending a little bit of time updating the city's mode share report. Actually, can you find that on the website? Maybe we just go through that. So prior to, as part of the preparation for the active transportation master plan, we did kind of an in-depth analysis of mode share and mode share trends in Flagstaff. Mode share is just simply what percentage of trips are made by vehicles, walking, biking, and transit are kind of the big categories. And in vehicles, you can break that down further into single occupancy vehicles and multi-occupancy. Multi-occupancy is just like carpooling, or you have multiple people in the vehicle. I think at some point in the very near future that the other category is going to be scooters and other mobility devices, because that is already probably a significant component that not sure where it's getting captured. I'm guessing walking is part of the walking share. Anyway, so we have two sources of information for it. One is the Trip Diary Survey. The other is the American Community Survey, who does surveys about how people get to work. So we collect a handful of data from the American Community Survey. We can break it down in multiple ways. And then the Trip Diary Survey was just completed by Metro Plan, so we have all new information to include from that. That's done every 6 years, so we have new information about mode share. And I think in a previous meeting, we looked at some of the preliminary results that showed a significant increase in walking. So we've been collecting the new data, trying to get it into this report to update it, and I don't have any of that. We have a lot of the spreadsheets done, but nothing updated in this report. So for a future meeting, we'll have something for you to look at and some information to go through and talk about.
Now to concluding general business. Moving quick, but now we have A through Q, Martin. I've never seen so many general business items before.
I want to
thorough update on every single one of them, please.
I wanted to check. I think that might be a record for.
It's gotta be. I've seen it.
We go back to that. Sorry. So actually, there's more items on the reports because we wanted to give you kind of an update on some of the projects we're working on.
That'd be great.
In a little bit more detail. I know we've talked about a lot of these things, but we're starting to work on some. We're at the very beginning of a lot of them, but it feels like starting work on some of these things is progress that will result in them actually getting built. So first one is part of the First Mile, Last Mile project. And First Mile, Last Mile is a grant that was obtained by Mountain Line to provide better ped and bike access to transit. And we have a handful of sidewalks, crossings, and bikeways that we've identified. The first project that's going to get started in a couple of weeks, like probably by the middle of June, is the sidewalks on Huntington. These were kind of one of our priorities because there's a lot of pedestrian use along this corridor, even though it is an industrial area. A lot of the pedestrian use is related to both the food bank, which is located here, and then just off screen is the flight shelter services. What's shown in blue are the sidewalks that are missing. The gaps in between are not gaps. That's where existing sidewalk is. So even this last part going out to flight shelter services has existing sidewalks. So this gets them all the way back to, this is Lockett. And then to Route 66 where there are transit stops. And there are sidewalks once you get to this point.
That's Fanning,
That's Fanning? Okay, okay,
not Lockett.
okay. Okay, thank you. This is Lockett over here. Yep.
Yeah.
One one small catch, we didn't have right of way for this corner, so that we may have to do the other sidewalks and then come back and fill in those sidewalks. It may look awkward for a moment, and it may appear as if we don't know what we're doing.
For a moment.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah, if it goes on much longer, then it will look like we don't know what we're doing, but. We may not, we may, hopefully we'll get those sidewalks all connected.
What's the issue with that right away? Is it taking away their parking or something?
No, the first mile, last mile has to be, like, we weren't allowed to get any right of way, because of the environmental clearances. It was assumed that it was all the improvements that we were making were within the existing right of way. So we have to kind of take this out of the first mile, last mile funding and fund it separately. And so that makes it it requires it to be a different project. So we might know what we're doing. Possibly. Any other questions on this one? Okay, we'll go to the next one. This one's actually under construction. So it's a sidewalk and a bike lane along that slip ramp along Linda Vista, generally from Paradise all the way down to Cedar. A few people have asked me about that connection because what's being built there looks really narrow. And so we kind of went out and looked at it, and it will fit this section. I don't have the original one, but the original one is probably 20 some feet of pavement. So we have curb and gutter on both sides, a 4.5 foot bike lane, and 11-foot travel lane, which is pretty standard around town for our dimensions, and then a 5-foot sidewalk on the inside. But when you look at an 11-foot travel lane and a 4.5 foot bike lane, just by themselves, that seems really, really narrow. I think if it's kind of an optical illusion, almost if you had the rest of the roadway next to it, it would look like there's a lot of asphalt. Not everyone is comfortable even in a 4.5 foot bike lane next to an 11-foot travel lane. In any case, depending on speed of traffic and volume of traffic, a lot of cyclists it provides space for them. I think if people use kind of an unofficial gravel path now, I think if you were a cyclist who was uncomfortable with being in the lane, like there is the sidewalk there for you.
You should hop on that anyway.
Not necessarily. We did talk about, do we do like a footpath here? Do we do a bike lane and a sidewalk? What's the correct facility, or what would be the best facility? Ultimately, it seemed like because we were connecting a sidewalk to a sidewalk and a bike lane to a bike lane, that we would go with that. I mean, generally, if you're using this to get out to Cedar, your level of discomfort with being a bike lane is about to get much worse when you get out to Cedar. Honestly, so people who are on Cedar using that bike lane probably have a fair level of confidence.
Tolerance.
People who, actually, I think, honestly, I think it's more like a comfort than a safety thing. Really, the safety's not bad if you have your own space in a bike lane. The comfort can be a different question. But you're probably, if you're uncomfortable with riding on Cedar, you're probably either in the foots on the other side or on the sidewalk anyway.
Most people on the sidewalk there.
Most people are on the sidewalk there. Yeah.
Can't blame them.
Can't blame them. Yeah, I wouldn't blame them. So any questions about that?
When's that supposed to be done? This project?
Very close.
It's getting.
I was out there yesterday. They were getting ready to, I believe that they were striping today.
Oh, nice.
And that's the last step.
When are they reopening Paradise? Linda?
That I'm not sure about. This side, specifically what I'm talking about is the lane that was
Which is
just.
awesome. I didn't know they were doing that. Just like that every day.
There's probably, a deeper discussion we could have about where are slip lanes appropriate in urban environments generally, but.
That ship has sailed on this one.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
We don't really show the detail, but where you enter it from the slip lane from Linda Vista, the corner's a little bit tighter, so you can't just go kind of, you don't start the slip lane on Linda Vista. You're required to make kind of a right turn. That helps with people who are walking along Linda Vista and crossing that particular slip lane. It makes the crossing distance much shorter, and vehicles will be making a hard right turn, so they're presumably going slower and paying more attention. I did say presumably. Okay,
Yep.
move on. Lone Tree Trail, again, I think we've seen this before. What's in blue is being constructed as part of the Lone Tree Overpass, and the rest of that project down to Sawmill. What's in purple are kind of the connections at the end of it that we're planning. So one of them at the very end connects through a city parcel, past O'Leary, along Hoskins, through a corner of the cemetery, and then onto the NAU campus. And this is Mountain View Dorm, and this is Mountain View Avenue on campus. So there's a little bit of grade in here to contend with, but otherwise it makes a pretty good connection. The second part of that is connecting that trail down to the existing trail in Sinclair Wash. In the middle, we have a connection that's identified in the south side plan that connects over to this street over here is Ashurst. And that area is either right of way or it's on property owned by the city. So all the property rights are in place. It seems like it's used for the very long-term storage of cars and campers, I can tell. And at the very north end of this, here's Butler Avenue. So Lone Tree begins to bridge up and over the tracks and then tees into Route 66. Do you mind? I'm gonna switch this. That pop-up is kind of annoying. Let me go to the original PowerPoint. I knew this was a problem before, but I thought that we used the PDF and that turned out better than the PowerPoint. It's the PowerPoint that we use. Okay. Thanks for indulging me. So here's the Lone Tree Overpass, goes over the railroad tracks, tees into Route 66. This is the existing Route 66 path. It will go under the Lone Tree and continue, but there'll be a button hook that comes back up so you can get up to Lone Tree. Will be a signalized intersection here, and an opportunity to connect from the end of that trail up to the trail at Schweitzer Canyon, which I think is a different report. There's a good bit of topography to overcome. I think probably 20 feet of a red sandstone cut slope. It could be a switchback. It could just be a kind of a straight connection. But having that connection when this bridge is in place, it seems pretty compelling. So this will take you all the way up to Buffalo Park if you follow it around. Even this connection, if you think about coming down Route 66, and being able to get on Lone Tree, which you'd have to go under and then back up to the button hook, then you can come down Lone Tree and then get onto campus. It seems like it's a good shortcut for people. So Chris is working on this project. He is working on getting concept plans done with a local engineering firm. I believe there's money in the budget, so once we get plans underway, we can make a project out of it. There's a little bit of technical complications, like at the south end, the path really wants to go over the Rio in that area. It's kind of interesting. The Rio goes kind of through here, under Lone Tree, kind of through this open area, back under Lone Tree, like that, and then back under Lone Tree a third time. So where it goes under here, this is a pretty good depression. It's actually very pretty. There's ponderosas in there. It could be like a spectacular area if it got cleaned up. But the trail wants to bridge over that part, and bridges just more complicated, more expensive than just building a path. So we have to work through some of those things. And then of course, this intersects with separated bike lanes. We have planned along Butler, protected intersections located at Lone Tree and Butler, San Francisco and Butler, Beaver and Butler, Franklin and Lone Tree and Sawmill and Lone Tree are all protected intersections.
You're working south of Butler. What's the latest time frame for the overpass? 2040?
I think I've heard like 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
3 construction seasons. Yeah. Is that it?
it's a couple of years. So
A big project.
it's a big project. Other questions, comments? Can move on. This is the Sawmill Trail. So this is the police station, sheriff's office, and jail. Here's Sawmill. This is the Sawmill district. This is a student housing project called Elara. So they built part of this trail here, and we're studying alignments to get it down to the Sinclair Wash Trail. Carlton, our colleague, has actually worked out some of the grading and thinks he has present us some options tomorrow. We probably will need a corner of private property, like right in this area. And then the rest of this, I think we have an easement here. The rest of this is all city property. So this hill is unnatural. It was kind of created, it was filled before, but Elara kind of regraded it. Nothing has grown on it yet. So it's just kind of dirt. But once you get past that, it's actually that this little canyon is kind of nice. And of course, this is a beautiful canyon where the foot trail goes through. So again, I think we have money coming up in the budget for the actual construction. Carlton working out some of the grade issues it will help us approach these property owners for easements. Another one is the Sinclair Ridge Trail. This is DeMiguel School. This is University Heights Drive South. And this is Gillen Water, if that helps orient you. So a couple of years ago, as part of this residential development, a trail was extended to the corner of it. And we simply want to extend the trail up to the end of Jewel. At the end of Jewel is a city park, University Highlands Park, and a sidewalk that takes you over to DeMiguel. So we met with the district superintendent, the principal at DeMiguel, and the district's facility person about moving this project forward, and they're on board with it. Our next step is to look at some concepts and get an easement from them for this portion of it. So again, that like very preliminary, but we've made kind of the first jump into moving it forward. These other orange lines actually show another future trail. This connection becomes very important because everything north of here is the University Heights neighborhood. And all of the land to the west of that is state land that has recently been auctioned off. And will, before too long, become a development called
Starlight Trails.
Starlight Trails. Thank you.
Could have bought that as a team, guys. $19 million for 500 acres. So cheap. The world of Flagstaff.
We could have done it. So the reason this becomes important is there are no points of access, almost no points of access along the entire western part of University Heights. The only other one is the very, very northwest corner, there's a city water tank, and there's a trail that connects around that out to state land. So when that state land develops, we have foot trails planned that make those connections, and there's no street connections, but we'll have foot trail connections to go back. It's not great connectivity, but I feel like we're lucky to have those 2 points of connection. So we talked to the school district a little bit about this one. And I mean, they know, why we're planning it. They're okay with it for the most part, but planning has to be done. The reason that it kind of makes this big loop is there's a lot of topography. So this is a big hill to go up.
There's a little butts, I guess, between two houses there from the neighborhood. There's this little tiny entrance. Let's see if I can.
There is.
Like right.
Yes.
Right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we do like the school day, literally to go from Ponderosa Trails. You didn't want to have to take that big honking hill all the way up to D. Miguel. You have to go all the way out to Fort Tut Hill, come back through Fort Tut Hill, come up through this neighborhood and go right up there and come in on that back basketball court.
Google calls it the Miguel Access Trail.
That is an adventure. So anything we can do to improve access, I'm all for it. Because that was awful. I mean, it took us an hour to get from Ponderosa Trails to D. Miguel.
Yeah. That's what, like that same kind of theme plays out in all kinds of different places around town. And these little connections become really, really important. And so we have to, A, preserve them where they are, where people use them if they don't have permanent rights, and then, B, plan them as part of development. And I think part of the secret is when we think about bikeways and sidewalks and foot trails, they don't have to follow the street pattern. They can be, pedestrians and bicyclists should have a much tighter grid for getting places. Cars, doesn't matter as much if you have to go a half mile out of your way. Pedestrian, it does matter a lot. So if we can make those, like making those connections becomes really important. They're in Boulder Point. There's a whole bunch of little connections between the ends of cul-de-sacs and the next road over. And, there's always discussions about how we manage them. Like, what are they made of? Are they concrete? Are they asphalt? How do we maintain them? Who's responsible for maintenance? Is it the city? Is it the HOA? So there's a lot of discussion about how they work. The people who live there love them. They don't care about all those discussions we have about how they work. As long as they get maintained and cleared of snow and that sort of thing. But people who live there love it. So I wish there was a way, maybe we need to like radio collar people for time to find out like where are all the shortcuts that people take, like where are all the connections that Strava is. Well, that's one segment of the population, but yeah.
Yeah, heat maps.
Heat maps.
That was the big
Yeah.
military problem.
Cell phone maps, because everybody's carrying their phone with them
Yeah.
on their bikes.
Yeah.
Get blips.
So see what people are actually doing, and then, okay, can we, backfill that to be actually formal and people find it useful?
You get a lot of sidewalks at NAU that way. Like, where should we put the sidewalks? We'll just take the dirt trail and
People will tell
make
you.
it 5 feet wide.
Pete will tell you.
Exactly, yeah.
The bike lines in the dirt will tell you.
Desire paths, AKA goat paths. Okay, next one is the Picture Canyon Trail. So to get you oriented, this is West Route 66. We are just past the mall and Harkins and the Home Depot. So what this kind of canyon-like thing is the Rio. This corner is Picture Canyon. The trailhead for Picture Canyon is right here. This is the city's sewage treatment plant. Does that kind of help you get organized? So we are working with the county, who has their public works yard here, with a group called Restoration Soils, who operates a composting facility right here, and with Cemex, who has a materials quarry right here, to get the property rights for this trail to connect from 66 out to the Picture Canyon Trail. So it could actually connect into where the trailhead is. The city actually owns this whole triangle here. And then, of course, there's right away for Route 66. And then the city owns this parcel and Picture Canyon. So the county is willing to give us an easement. Restoration Soils, we've been working with, they bought that land recently from State Land Department. And we've been working with them for probably more than a year. They know our intentions are to buy this corner of their property. We haven't connected with Cemex yet, but we're working on that. A number of years ago, the city actually did an improvement project in this wash, kind of regraded it, and there's a really nice bench for a trail all through here. And then the county, there was an old road that connects along here, and they actually put recycled asphalt down. It's more or less functioning now as a trail, but it doesn't really connect on either end. That provides nice access out to Picture Canyon. In fact, they're thinking about other opportunities for like an overflow trailhead someplace along here. A handful of us walked this last weekend. It's kind of a fascinating combination of like nature. Like we saw birds and interesting things, and parts of it are actually pretty. So it's a combination of that, like really hardcore industrial stuff. You know, Cemex, a composting facility, a sewage treatment plant. So I don't know, does that kind of play for marketing, that juxtaposition, trail like that? I don't know. Of course, there's kind of there's a planned foot trail on Route 66. It's maybe, I don't think it's quite a mile, but it's a distance back to where the Route 66 foot trail ends. That would be ideal to have that connection all the way back into our trail system. In the short term, we're thinking of this as more like a single track trail to do relatively inexpensively. Now, have we talked about this one before? No.
That's the first I've seen it.
What are the usage be in there? I guess like you'd have bicyclists, mountain bikers. Does that connect? Is there a large pedestrian group that would connect those two?
Once you get up to Picture Canyon, there's, a handful of loops and that sort of thing that people would connect to. I'm not sure. I think it's a fair question. I think the biking group would appreciate the connection back to the foots trail. Of course, that's a bit far for pedestrians. If there's a trailhead here, I think one of the questions is, would people use it and then walk this part of the trail to get to the rest of Picture Canyon? Yeah.
And another aspect of this trail is, so this is the southern connection from Route 66 to Picture Canyon, but in our proposed network, it actually extends much further towards Winona Road. And that's another consideration, is expanding the trail network to reach out to, the farther reaches of, the towns, places that are on the boundary of Flagstaff. So this is a good step in the right direction for connectivity.
Yeah, I was just curious who the main user would be.
Yeah. So it's a good opportunity for people who live out that way. If they want to be ambitious and ride their bike into town, this is a step towards making that connection.
Traffic.
For the planned piece under Route 66, then that would go under the freeway and connect it like to Campbell Mesa.
Yeah.
But like, is there any, like, I know it's planned on the map, like, there's the 5, 10 and infinity year plan. Which one's that on?
Well,
I say that with respect because I have plenty of those at my shop too. So.
It's about halfway between 10 years and infinity.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. What's half of
That'd be
it?
great, because then that would get a lot more use if you
Yeah.
could just get there from the other side, and there aren't enough crossings under the free or over the freeway there.
Yeah, that's a pretty compelling, connection. We don't see it here, but like you get under, this is Route 66, this is a railroad tracks. When you get under that, it's Nestle Purina.
Yeah.
Property. We actually have a trail easement on across Nestle Purina. There's like a really nice little bench where a trail could go, along there. If you go back to the west a little bit, there are two underpasses under the two, directions of I-40. That are easement on Nestle Purina connects to. If you get under those, there's a little piece of state land that we'd have to acquire or get an easement for, and then you're onto city property, and then that can connect literally all the way to Continental Park and Campbell Mesa.
Yeah.
City Stormwater is working on I think it's a grant application to put a series of, metal culverts under the BNSF tracks to, carry drainage. And we are working with them to get one of those to be, open to pedestrians.
Awesome.
It's pretty, it's not, I won't call it a great connection. It would be like a 9-foot diameter tunnel. We found some examples at other places around the country where they built 9-foot tunnels
Yeah, for sure.
with like a single track trail on the
Yeah.
bottom of it. And you still have decent clearance. I mean, it's not great, but if it is it better than nothing?
Absolutely better, a lot better than what's there.
It's actually one of those not too far from I guess, the westernmost roundabout in Sedona. It goes under and links up with like the Krusty Trail, which takes you to Javelina. And I didn't know about it until I saw it on a Strava heat map, but you can actually like avoid having to cross 89 and go underneath. And
We
it's
need to go
like,
investigate that one.
yeah, like if you're at the Filibertos, it's like due west and you go across through like this little hotel parking lot that there's no signage at all. And then you're at like a little trailhead and it takes you underneath the 89.
Between Filiberto and the airport road?
Yeah.
It's
And it's exactly the diameter that you were talking about.
like a metal corrugated pipe, yeah.
But I felt way safer doing that than
Crossing 89. Yeah.
So we have enough, like little pieces that kind of come together that give us hope that it may not be an infinity project. I mean, it's complicated,
Yeah, oh yeah.
unquestionably. Then getting across Route 66 as a whole is another question. Do we cross it grade or do we need another tunnel to get underneath? Then it starts to really, those connections start to really makes, good connectivity when you think about now that opens up that Picture Canyon area to all of the country club area and connects Campbell Mesa on this end with Picture Canyon.
Cyclists will love it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So that's part of it. And we don't, these things are rarely standalone. They're like a piece to, in some cases, greater connectivity that comes together. The county said they'd be willing to give us this easement as well. This is the Kinder Morgan pipeline. We don't see where it goes west, but it continues to the, what's called the Elevate, I believe.
Yeah.
Apartments, and there's a foot trail that goes through that. We have, an easement across half of that pipeline, like from, Dodge to the west. And, Robert, who's the city's open space coordinator, recently had a meeting with Kinder Morgan. And they kind of spelled out what would be required for an easement, for the rest of it. And it seemed like it was possible, which I thought would have been more difficult, but it seems like it's possible. So again, in that north connection, we may be, closer than we thought to getting the property rights for it. One thing that connection does, again, we don't see it here, but there are a couple of residential neighborhoods on the north side of this pipeline, which could be easily connected to this trail, and then they would get access into the city in one direction and out to Picture Canyon in the other direction. So again, that starts to enhance connectivity. I mean, I imagine this is like what you go through, Matt. Like you think about these things and you get really excited, and then you realize like it's close to infinity away.
Yeah.
Like if you don't start somewhere,
Gotta
you never
start
get there,
somewhere.
right? Yeah. So we're planting seeds that will grow into trees that somebody else will sit in the shade of.
It's nice to talk about the east side so much.
Yeah, I mean, the east side was very difficult for head and bike access for a long, long time. And now it's much better. Oops, and that's the last, you have the, that's the rest of the reports, just,
Those were all great though. Martin, thanks for going through those guys.
I love the
Yeah, those are good.
updates.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know how much detail we've gone into with some of those, but that's kind of
I've seen it all. Yeah, that's great.
we're thinking of. And again, we're beginning at the beginning stages of progress on some. So stay tuned. We'll try not to bother you again until we have something more definitive, like the construction of this trail is going to be complete next weekend.
That's not that kind of an update.
Sounds like the industrial corridor though, where it's really needed that's actually happening soon.
Yeah.
Minus the little blurbs of sidewalk that won't be there until
Yeah.
you get funding from elsewhere.
Yeah, that should
Such
start.
an important corridor.
Yeah. One other trail that is not on here, we've gone out to bid for the, Schweitzer Canyon Trail, which is the one that comes down from the roundabout at Turquoise and Ponderosa, Turquoise and Schweitzer Canyon, and then wraps around, it comes out at the, terrace close to downtown. They did a walk for prospective bidders. And had, I think, 4 or 5 contractors there to do the walk. So that's really encouraging. We're hopeful that we'll get good bids. We are scheduled to award a contract on the July 1st council meeting, and they could start not long after that. There's a possibility that it could get built this year. If all that happens, it may take longer than a year, and they would have to do like a winter shutdown, and it would be completed in the spring. So that's another one that is kind of moving forward, and hopefully there's a few things that have to happen, but hopefully they'll work out. Okay, we do the rest of these more quickly. J is the Flagstaff regional plan. They're working on incorporating all the comments from late last year. I think the next draft is going to be released fairly quickly, and there are public meetings coming up in September. So when the next draft comes out, we'll kind of rally and bring it to you. And I don't think that we made comments as a group, as a PAC. It was more individual.
Individually.
Yeah. BAC made formal comments so that they'll check to see how their comments were incorporated, but we can look at the document again. K is a JW Powell area specific plan.
Is it really happening?
Yeah, so now that the road alignment is kind of set through that area, the city is doing some planning for public facilities and some land use issues. Trails are emerging as the biggest issue in that area. Trails, greenways, and access to the forest, which we were well aware of before this started, but now this is the formal process to, yeah.
Will there be a road network plan available anytime in a year, 1,000 years?
Infinity. Halfway between 10 years.
It's still unfortunately infinity.
Outline is an interest in that.
Yes, we are.
Planning.
Speaking on there.
We can show you the road network, but it pretty much just takes what the existing or the proposed development is proposed so far for roads. And nothing on Middle America because they haven't really planned anything.
So it's still piecemealed.
Yeah, have you seen that? Have you seen that kind of the road network before?
Versions of it, but nothing as of recent. There's just a lot of obviously development there. It's gonna be way too late in the game for transit, but it would be nice to see.
Okay, let's get in contact and I can show you what we know.
Great.
What we know may not be what happens, but it's the best information so far. And of course, the other big issue with JW Powell area is the Arizona Trail is the big trail. And we can't break its continuity during any of this planning or development. It has to stay the Arizona Trail, and then B, where it ends up is kind of important. We want to protect the experience. That part of the Arizona Trail is beginning in the urban route through Flagstaff, so it has a different character than a lot of it. But I still think any foots trail, especially the Arizona trails, we should try to protect the experience of users on it. So that more to come. That's kind of our challenge. And Chris, you've got a couple of them here. Do you want to dive into it?
What do we got?
Two safe streets. Couple of.
Sure. We can kind of lump our two safe streets grant projects together. Butler Avenue Complete Streets, that's the construction project from Milton to Sawmill. And also our planning project, the Safe Streets Master Plan. So for Butler Avenue, not a lot to update at this point. We continue to have meetings, but it's been more or less passed to our capital improvement side, and there's a project manager assigned. They're working on getting a consultant to do environmental contract or environmental consulting and moving forward with design. That's all being pushed along. I think that they're hoping to have a contractor on board to do that work sometime over this summer. And then related to the planning project, Safe Streets Master Plan, this is for the city's transportation master plan and a few supplementary components. We have been meeting bi-weekly with an interagency scoping team. So the city of Flagstaff, Metro Plan, Mountain Line, County. So we all sit once every 2 weeks to hash through the scope. And we're approaching the final stages of that, looking to have a consultant on board or to go out to to begin a procurement process in the next 2 months. So that's coming along well. That's been a big effort to this point, and we've had a lot of really good input across divisions, and we're pretty happy with progress there. Any questions on those two?
Next one is a transportation alternative safe routes to school. This is the one that involves the north half of Sunnyside, Knowles, and bus accommodation at Pine Cliff and Cedar. Carlton's not here, but I think they're moving forward. They have a consultant on board and have been collecting information and meeting. The next two are also transportation alternatives. Grants, they were recently applied for. Mount Eldon Urban Trail is through the Forest Service. And Fort Valley Road one is through the city. For the city one, Chris has submitted the pre-application to ADOT. The next round of the formal application is due June 6th.
Yeah, it got pushed back from its original date, which is kind of nice because they're getting their ducks in a row on their side and can give us some good information, hopefully in the next week or two, to modify our application and make it nice and competitive. That came to PAC and at our last meeting, and we requested a letter of support. We gathered input and we're putting our letter together, and I'll get it over to you, Matt, to sign. Sure. Shortly. Thanks.
And then you're in the same place that we are with the Mount Eldon Urban Trail.
Yeah, so Mount Eldon Urban Trail is Forest Service proposal. Basically would connect Buffalo Park and that new Oldham Trail that we just built coming out off Buffalo Park, the Arizona Trail. Kind of a quasi foots instead of pipeline or forces of nature. We connect over to basically the Flagstaff Ranger District office. And then there'd be another piece from Snowflake up almost as close to Donny Park as we can get it, or close to Timberline, kind of with like by the subway and the pizza joint up there. So that'd be another great connection. Looking forward to that. Yeah.
And Forrest and I met last week and talked about some of the connecting pieces, like where your trail would end at the boundary where that old church was on Snowflake and 89. We're getting an easement to take it down to connect to the Foots Trail that starts at Snowflake. So that continuity. And then there's a couple other spots along there that you guys have already planned that we just talked about, where it connects into neighborhoods that are to the south through either existing trails or social trails.
Yeah.
Awesome. Used to hike it all the time. Love it. Happy, Sean.
The new Oldham Trail is so smooth compared to that crazy, like rocky downhill.
Great.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Yeah,
I ran it.
Really,
like a
really
week or two
nice.
after the big snow we had, and even with all the water coming down off the
Yeah.
side, it was still in great shape. It held up
Well
really
done.
well.
Yeah, nice.
You still get, do people still ask about, I kind of like the old trail.
We haven't heard that.
Oh, that's
All
great.
of the Salt Rock.
That's like, I think if there's anything that there's almost unanimous agreement upon in the city, it's how, just what garbage that old trail was.
Died on it.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah.
That's Superman off the side.
Yeah, and that mud, when it was wet in the winter and spraying that mud, yeah, it was terrible, so. And so something, we think it'd be something similar to that all the way out over to the east side of town.
Okay, our last one is Hugh, and the city switched the platform that it collects applications to commissions on. So I've not been able to, I reached out to the clerk's office, but I haven't been able to see if we have any additional applications. But I know we have probably one or two or three on file from before. We did have a discussion with the city clerk. They've asked us not to review and make recommendations on applications internally. But I can still share them with you. We just can't go through a formal process like we have before of kind of making recommendations amongst the applicants. Does that make sense?
No.
Oh, what's that?
At some point in the past, and I know the bike advisory committee was more heavily involved in this, but they reviewed all the applications and went through kind of a formal ranking process of who they were recommending to be appointed to the committee. And the clerk felt that was kind of a little bit too close, that it should be, the committee should be a little more arm's length from that process. Ultimately, the Transportation Commission is the final appointment.
Doesn't the PAC and BAC exist to provide advice, recommendations to the Transportation Commission?
Yes, that is true. Yeah. Maybe not necessarily on this particular issue.
Is there a reason I'm not understanding why that's?
Yeah, I don't get it either.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can reach out and try to get more clarification on that. With the group.
because we did something similar last time around with Jay and Sean.
Yeah. I'll find out. We'll report back. And then if,
Because the Transportation Commission is not gonna, with respect, the Transportation Commission is not gonna spend a lot of time reading them. We know that. Right?
That's
They don't
true.
spend a lot of time.
Yeah,
They don't spend a
yeah.
lot of time meeting. Is, I don't know if Jeff is still here.
I think you left there. It felt like they were appreciative of
That's what I thought.
the advanced work that the committees did.
Yeah.
for-
Getting, yes.
Yeah.
For sure. And we invited them that they want to have a more robust process of their own, and they were happy to kind of default to the work that PAC and BAC did.
Like, is there a rule or regulation that is being violated? Like, we're not voting to approve anybody. That's all at the Transportation Commission. Struggling with this one.
Okay, I'll try to find out more, get some clarification.
Great. And is that eventually, is that to set Jody free? Is that our last?
So set Jody free.
Year 7 or 8 or however many, I'm not entirely sure.
You include BAC, because she was on that for.
Oh, I mean, then it's like 20 years if we count
That is
everything.
an item.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, if we could get a little more information from,
We'll do it one way or another. I'll try to get hold of those applications and
Okay.
share them with you.
great, that was great, runner reports. Thank you guys for all that information. It was
Very
super helpful. Concluding announcements, any agenda item requests for our next meeting?
I think Councilmember Spence would like us to look at his suggestions for harmonizing foot trails with separated bikeways. We're scheduled on the Commission on Inclusion and Adaptive Living next week to talk about information to include on foot trails that provides more information on their accessibility. That wasn't a very good sentence, but hopefully you know what I mean. Do you do that at the Forest Service? Maybe I'll reach out. We're gonna try to collect a few examples of how accessible information is provided at trails. The idea is that like not every trail is gonna meet ADA standards. It doesn't have to, But if you can provide information to people, they can kind of better determine if it's something that they're able to do or willing to do. So it looks at things like how many hills are there, what percentage, grade, how extensive are they? For more like Forest Service trails, it's things like cross slopes, are there roots or rocks in the trail? What's the surface? Is it firm or soft? That sort of thing. Foot trails are a little bit different, but a lot of the same information is the same. So we'll meet with them and have a discussion. We can bring that back to a future agenda item here as well to talk through it. Great.
All right, on that, I think we made it through the agenda and we are adjourned at 17:50. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
See you around, Melanie.
Sorry.